Payday 2 has been out for nearly a decade and is easily one of the best federal crime simulators on the planet. It's full of everything you need to feel like you're a powerful movie villain who's up to no good. With the impending release of Payday 3 in a couple of months, I decided to boot up Old Reliable and familiarize myself with the Payday universe once again. And that got me thinking, sure, the payouts from heists cost many institutions hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. But what would be the real-world cost of the damage done in a heist like this? To figure things out, I kept things simple. We're going to be looking at the Payday 2 tutorial heist, both days 1 and 2, and we'll be calculating everything we can other than the cost of human life because that's just morbid. Plus, the game already factors that in with the loss of hostages. Also, we'll be using internet researched averages to estimate repairs. With that said, let's begin. One of the more fascinating things to me was finding out how hard it is to avoid damage and just how much it costs to clean up a crime scene. Also, the crime scene cleanup cost changes depending on blood, brain matter, and the amount of bodies on the scene. To keep things simple, let's assume one location with connected rooms is a single crime scene, and if we move outside to another building or another level in the same building, that is an additional crime scene. Furthermore, things like skylights were actually cheaper than I expected, coming in at about $2,400 a piece. For these bookshelves, they looked expensive since they're as tall as the room, so I went with an equivalent on Amazon. The books, I went with this insurance company's estimate at about $20 a book, assuming I knocked down about 12 books there. Now, the safe was fun to research as I had no idea just how affordable the average home safe was, but seeing as this is a mobster's nightclub, I went ahead and used this model for reference. Office windows are also not as pricey as I thought, coming in at about $1,500 each. Unless you destroy 6 more of them. Here's a good example of what I mentioned earlier. There is now a dead police officer in another building, so there's also a new crime scene. Since it's only one officer, we can assume a little less than the max price of about $3,000. Although I know for a fact he busted out that window himself, we'll be nice and add it to the cost of our final bill, minus $800. It really is amazing what level of carnage you bring without really trying to in this game. Here's a casual $150 in damages for this beautiful end table and lamp on top. The wood paneling was kind of tough to find, but I found a decent average price here and figured since this is a pretty nice place, the wood has to be decent quality, right? The miscellaneous stuff is mostly because I couldn't tell from my own footage what in the world I'd hit. Again, another crime scene, but that does conclude day 1 of the heist. So let's move on to day 2. Yet another crime scene. Ignoring the fact that I didn't realize the objective to activate opening these doors was behind me, these doors are pretty cost-effective for a business of this size. Now, this number may seem arbitrary to some of you, but you have to understand, this person has just been held at gunpoint and herded like cattle with sirens going off, explosions, and any number of flashing lights overwhelming her senses, which could be likened to a wartime level experience. At the minimum, let's assume it'll take her about 9 months to finally relax and stop having night terrors, cold sweats, and so on. Mental health isn't cheap in the United States, so that's about $3,600. More windows. I have to admit, it was kind of fun to imagine the sheer depth of trauma this cop has to experience. Think about it. He's climbing the fence, trying to be the hero that takes out 3 lunatics who've overtaken the city, and instead he gets held at gunpoint, told to handcuff himself, and then has to join sides with the criminals. Not only will he have some deep mental repercussions from the stress of everything going wrong in a flash, but he also will be known by some as the guy who became a traitor against his brothers in blue. So he's either moving precincts or he's retiring as a cop. Either way, his mental health treatment is going on for way longer. At this point, my Google search history alone could get me on a list, but those shields are not cheap. And another one. Okay, so that's the end of day 2. Here's what we walked away with between both days. Here's how much we cost the cops. And here's the property damage we did. The expenses to the police are a little murky, as crime scene cleanup could technically be added to their bill, but my source didn't specify, so we're going to assume that CSI units did the cleanup for the businesses and thus didn't bill the owners. Okay, so doing more than $350,000 in applicable damages is pretty insane. But just for comparison, let's look at a real bank heist and see what the numbers actually look like. In 1997, there was the so-called Great Dunbar Armored Truck Robbery. As for the total cost, there were no casualties and no damages other than a broken taillight on the U-Haul they used and stolen recording devices for the security cameras. In other words, gamers like us, we're not as smooth as professional heisters. Even if Bane gives you a drill that doesn't break down. I couldn't find pricing on security-grade VCRs in 1997, only home units, which I'm not sure a bank would use, so I'm working backwards with a modern system adjusted for inflation. Not bad. If you want to see more cost breakdowns on heists and Payday, or want to send me your own and have me review them, let me know in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching.